I don't know what it is about these people being radicalized or falling into these cults like the MAGA cult or QAnon or these red pill pipelines. It's wild how this is happening. Now, this woman named Kelly, she did a whole thread about her um, progressive male friend, and we're just going to jump into it. She says, a progressive male friend, and she puts friend in quotation marks throughout this whole thing, recently told me he only wants to date virgins from now on. He's 42. I asked why, since he never cared in the past. He said that women are becoming too loose and is eroding family values. They should get married and procreate sooner. Obviously, we could tell that this man went down the red pill pipeline. She says, I was shocked. This friend never even wanted marriage and children. He wasn't conservative and balked at traditional family values. Now he's telling me women need to get married younger so they don't have the chance to become loose. I asked whether he had considered how unlikely he was to find a virgin at his age, and he said he had, but that shows how far we've allowed women to stray. We've allowed that if they're unmarried in their 40s, they should have self control to wait. Ignoring the obvious ridiculousness of these statements, I asked why he didn't have to wait. Why were women considered loose, fallen, straying too far from traditional values, but he can have as much unmarried ex as he wants and still be virtuous? He says that's the difference between genders. Men shouldn't be expected to wait, nor is it their job to have and raise children. Cue my intense anger, like the fist. Uh, I stifled it and asked him to consider one further point. If men all want virtuous women, who are they having X with? We know men like my friend aren't waiting until marriage. I don't think he even wants marriage. Is it fair that he gets to enjoy himself with women who he will then immediately consider tarnished, who he will tar and feather with the loss of virtue the moment the deed is done? So doing the deed tarnishes them even though he wants the deed. It's so amazing how logical they are. He didn't actually have an answer for that. It's like he hadn't even considered it. For him to be able to have an enjoyable ex life, women had to be willing to do the exact thing he was condemning them for. How is that not a disgusting double standard? We, of course, know it is, but it strikes me as odd when men I previously knew to be logical and rational can't see it. It reeks of the old stereotype where a man who has lots of X is a stud, whereas a woman is a harlot and undesirable, flawed in some way. The most alarming thing about this discussion was the shift in my friend's attitudes and perception of the opposite sex. This is someone I've known for decades. Was he always hiding these viewpoints or did something change? My belief is that something changed, and that something is the vulgar man who's currently seeking re-election and the zealots who follow him. Absolutely. My friend was never interested in politics. He hadn't even voted by the time he was 30. Yet during the early days of the pandemic, he got angry. It was the first time in his life where he was being forced to do something for the good of other people, made to do something he didn't want to do. He didn't like it. So he began listening to ultra right wing people who quickly told him about his God given right to freedom at all costs, about how much better he is than other people, i.e., women, people of color, visible minorities, LGBTQ, etc. Suddenly he was special. As a straight white male, he found a group of people just as angry as him, people who saw people like me as the enemy, who want women barefoot in the kitchen and all other minorities, disabled people included, out of sight and out of mind. At first, his newfound zealousness only manifested as anger over masking and other COVID policies, but it didn't take long for him to turn it on the disabled and women, two groups he knows I belong to. He stopped hiding his vile beliefs and made it quite clear that my value to society lies in my ability to be a good wife and mother, nothing more. If I want more for myself, then I'm in the wrong, lacking virtue, found wanting. Needless to say, our friendship didn't survive, but there is a far bigger issue here than losing my friend. The ultra right wing talking points are harmful to almost every group in society except for those saying them. The most privileged among us will ever benefit from people who think this way being in power. We have to fight back. We have to speak up. We can't allow the next generation of women to grow up being treated like chattel. We've worked too hard to be treated equally. Anti masking and anti science beliefs may be where this started, but it is not where it will end. There's very dark days ahead of us if we don't change course soon. These people won't stop at women or people with disabilities. No one is safe in the face of fascism. They're preying on people's anger. They preyed on my friend. He can't see that he's being used. If you see this happening to someone, speak up. Try and reach them if you can. If you see others being harmed by those who believe this drivel, stand up for them. We are stronger together. Use your voice however you can to stand with those targeted by racist, bigoted leaders and policies. And vote. Don't take your right to vote for granted. You never know when it could be taken too. Addendum. I got the impression he was resigned to not marrying and spending life alone, not that he wanted a young bride. It felt more like lamenting that he hopes future generations of women will be instructed to marry and have families young like they used to. Not much better. The crazy thing about this red pill manosphere pipeline and the overlap of these MAGA people and Christo fascists is pretty much a circle. And the wild thing is when Black men come into this circle too, despite the fact that they are coming for minorities as well. So that's the odd thing. But the circle pretty much is a full circle. It's a lot of overlap between the manosphere. These young men and old men, they're getting sucked into these conspiracies. And like she said, a lot of it did start up with COVID. And a lot of these men were not used to being told, just like she said, a lot of these people were not used to being told what to do. So that's why she's saying, talking about anger over having to mask. But women, we've been told what to do. Our bodies have always been subject to be, lorded over, from the doctor saying we can and can't do something, to being second class citizens, to being oppressed and suppressed in these patriarchal societies. So women are kind of used to it. These men never had to follow instructions with their own bodies, and they got a little bit of a taste of it. But instead of knowing and understanding where we're coming from, they're going to push back harder and go this route where they're just losing out on people. So many people have lost their finances because of all the fees and stuff they had to pay, their friends, their friendship, their families, their freedom over Trump. And all of these, and going down this cult, these red pillars, these manosphere people, and I just don't understand it. Anyways, I thought that this was a good conversation to have. And I'm not going to go into all of the comments or anything, but I'm sure other people have lost friendships, have lost connection with their families, have just lost because some of these men are so susceptible to these pipelines and these cults. Weigh in. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.